Hello, 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 my loves. As always, I hope that this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. So, welcome to a special edition of the Astro Room here on YouTube. I'm your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So typically you find me going live on Monday nights when I'm doing the weekly astro forecast, but this week is going to be a little special. So still going to be doing the weekly astro forecast. That's not changing. But since we're at the tail end of Cancer season and since the energy of Cancer has been so intense, I don't know about you, but the last two Cancer seasons, it's like emotions have been on a 10, right? So last week, or should I say the week before, I was thinking about how to sort of help you guys not only harness the energy of the moon, but really use it. And it was in sitting with this question that I realized how I use the moon in my own life, right? And how it is a game changer when it comes to not just your emotions, but even your productivity. Okay. Everything about life is cyclical. And this is one of the concepts that I really want you to understand, especially as it pertains to astrology. So it's not just about learning, your natal chart and learning what your moon sign is. That's half the story. The rest of it is how do I actually use this information? And not only how do I use it, but how do I use it to make my life better? Okay. Or how do I use it to understand my life better? That's the purpose of pretty much everything that I do here at Divine Feminine Works. So, like I said, 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about, okay, what can I do for Cancer season that would actually be helpful to you? And I came up with this whole thing. And today we are kicking off what I am calling Moon Mastery Week. Okay. And so over the next week, from today until Friday, you will be learning so much information on how to use the energy of the moon to your advantage. All right. I am going to be teaching you how the moon works, how your moon sign works, how to use it, how to be productive. All of these things you will learn over the next 5 days. Okay. And so this live is meant to be the kickoff for that. So we start this week really getting in tune with the energy of the moon. And so, first of all, why is this even important? Okay. It's important because, like I said, everything is cyclical. When you flow with nature, life starts to flow. And flow is the state that we all want to be in. I don't know about you, but me personally, I'm tired of resistance. I'm tired of pushing. I'm tired of having to hustle and grind and really make everything work, right? Typically, have you ever met somebody who it just feels like everything just falls into their lap, or people are just always super lucky, or anything like that? Chances are, at least in some area of their life, they're experiencing flow. And when you learn the cycles of nature and you work with them, that's what starts to happen. And I'm not even saying this as like a, oh, textbook kind of a thing. No, it's real. I realized that when I started flowing, particularly with the cycle of the moon, my life changed. Things not only made more sense, but I was able to be more productive. And that's something that I feel like so many people are really focused on, right? Because it's not just about, well, there are different facets of life, right? We want to be productive. We want to live the soft life. And thankfully, the cycle of the moon helps us do just that. All right. And so the reason why I'm bringing all of this to you is because so many of us feel out of sync, right? Even if we're not feeling out of sync, it's like we're trying to do things and perhaps we're being met with a lot of resistance, or perhaps things just aren't making sense, or we feel like we're on this hamster wheel, yet we're not going anywhere. Again, this is where understanding and implementing the cycles of the moon is really helpful. Okay. It's the manual to life, if I'm being honest. And it's so overlooked. So overlooked. I feel like even a lot of astrologers, right? They talk about the moon, they talk about your moon sign, cool. But the moon is the essence of feminine energy. And if you haven't noticed, we are really at a time where the divine feminine is rising, where so many people are really getting sick and tired of the patriarchy. They're tired of this pushing and forceful kind of energy that we've been sort of forced to follow. And so the answer to all of that is feminine energy, which is the moon. Feminine energy flows, it receives, it's soft. Everyone's talking about they want to live a soft life. Cool. How do you do that though? You gotta set your life up for that. And that takes some work at the outset, right? But setting up yourself for that isn't, you don't do that by, again, running a program that we're sort of getting rid of right now, AKA the patriarchy. You do that by attuning to the frequency of flow. And that's exactly what the moon does. And it's so overlooked because I feel like a lot of people just label the moon as emotional. Oh, it's your emotions. And how much credence and how much priority do we give to that? So often women are kind of just labeled as, oh, she's just emotional. It's just emotions. It'll pass. Meanwhile, you're not really taught how to harness the energy of your emotions and how to make them work for you rather than get dragged by them all the time, right? Hence why the moon is so important, and hence why I'm bringing this information to you this week. All right. So, one of the really important concepts of lunar energy is the concept of timing, right? Like I said, everything runs on a cycle. We see this as women with our menstrual cycle, right? But even if you are a man, flowing with nature will always work to your best interest. And the moon shows us timing. There's a time and often a place, but that's another topic for another day. There is a time for everything. And what I love about the lunar cycle the most is that it is a microcosm of the macrocosm of our life. And it's also the microcosm of life in general. There is birth, there's development, and then there's decline, and then there is death, right? The lunar cycle covers all of this in the span of a month. Okay. So if you understand how that cycle works and how to work with it, now your life starts running on this cycle, this natural cycle that is designed for your benefit. And so the lunar cycle teaches us that there is a time to set intentions. There's a time to take action towards our manifestation. There's a time to enjoy and celebrate what we've manifested. Then there's a time to share in what we've created. Then there's a time to release what no longer serves us. Then there's a time to rest, recalibrate, to start the cycle all over again. This is how we're designed to live. Yet the powers that were, the powers that be, often they don't want you tapping into this, because once you tap into how you're designed by God to live, you don't need them anymore. But again, that's another story for another day. But this concept of timing and this concept of cycles is what makes life easier. Now, when I say easier, I don't mean that you're not going to encounter any problems or challenges. I just mean that when you have a schedule and you know what to do, it takes the guesswork out of life, right? When you know, okay, I have to get up at this time, I have to eat breakfast at this time, I got to go to work, I got to come home, I got to do whatever, right? You don't have to sit every morning and think about, okay, what do I have to do today? It's the same with the lunar cycle. And let's be real, if you're a woman, you need to be living by the lunar cycle, point blank, period. Like, if you are not, you're probably really, really, really out of sync. Okay. But again, it's not just about, okay, I know when to do this and I know when to do that. This is how you plan your days. This is how you plan your months. This is how you plan your quarters. This is how you plan your years. And not just that, the moon can show you what chapter in life you're in right now. And that literally, that piece of information for me was the game changer. Because often we have no clue what chapter in life we're in, right? Society tells you go, 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 produce, 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 create, 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 hustle, grind, get that money. And there is a time for that. And maybe that's the chapter of life you're in according to the moon. But let's say you're not. What if you're in a chapter of life when it's about letting go? You know what that ends up looking like in real time? You're trying to create a million and one things. Maybe you're trying to get a business off the ground. Maybe you are trying to start a new relationship. Maybe you're trying to start a family. When the universe is really priming you to let go of everything. So what ends up happening is you start all these things and they don't work out. They don't launch. They blow up in your face and you keep experiencing resistance. And so you give up and you're just like, I'm not meant to have these things. These things are not for me. This is not working out. It's not about the things aren't meant for you. You're just doing them at the wrong time. If you were to know what chapter in life you were in, you could plan accordingly. And that's the beauty of the moon, is the beauty of the lunar cycle. It lets us know where we're at right now so that we can plan accordingly. You can do it on a grand scale. The moon can tell you what chapter in life you're in a book that spans 30 years. You can do it on a monthly basis. You could know what type of month you're about to have or what type of month you're currently having. So you can plan when to have meetings, when to do that interview, when to do that podcast, when to rest and do nothing, right? You can understand how you are designed and what your purpose is here. For instance, some people are really extroverted, right? They're really out there. They're very vocal, right? They could be very popular. They could be an influencer or whatever. And perhaps society, or at least the message that society is pushing right now, makes you feel like that's how you have to be as well. What if you weren't designed that way? What if you were someone who was designed to work behind the scenes? Or you were someone who is like a spiritual oracle who's here to create fertile soil for other people to plant seeds, right? The moon can tell you what your purpose is, or at least how to facilitate your purpose. Because astrology can talk to you about your purpose till it's blue in the face. And there are different aspects of your natal chart, but your moon, it tells you sort of how to facilitate that purpose. The moon can also tell you about your personality generally, what you need to feel good, what you need to self soothe, what you need in order to feel safe and emotionally regulated so life isn't dragging you all over the place. The moon can tell you all of these things. And over the next week, I'm going to be talking all about these things. Plus, I've got some other resources for you in order to help you integrate all of this information into your daily life so that you can actually change. Because here's what happens when you know this information and you use it. This is how you effect permanent and profound changes in your life. When you realize when to push and when to rest. When you realize what kind of emotional work you need to be doing this month. When you realize when is the time to really be seen and when is the time to be behind the scenes, all of which the moon can tell you, you'll understand how to plan, how to be productive, when to be productive, and that's how you make changes. Again, it's not just about understanding your emotions. Understanding your emotions is half the story because, okay, great, you understand it. Now, how can you use it? And over the course of this week, which I am calling Moon Mastery Week, you will learn all of this. And it's interesting because, well, not interesting. Maybe you won't find it interesting, but I did. The way that this came to me was Shark Week. I think it's on the Discovery Channel. I don't know if they still have it, but I remember Shark Week was always a thing during the summer where every night on the Discovery Channel, you would get information on sharks and different programs and stuff like that. That's sort of what this is going to be. So today we're doing this live, but for the next 5 days, I'll be dropping a video on a different aspect of the moon that you need to know about so that you can start integrating this information into your life. All right. It's going to be super interesting. And even if you don't take advantage of the resources, just by virtue of watching this series, you will learn so much that you could immediately start to use. Okay. So this is meant to be interesting and informative. And I really hope that you find it as such. All right. So let's see. Now, what are we going to cover this week? So first and foremost, we are going to cover information on, number one, we're going to dive deep into why you're out of sync and how to sort of get the wheels turning so you can get in sync. All right. You can't really move forward until you understand where you've been and what the problem is. And so one of the videos, at least the beginning video, is going to be all about that. Then we're going to cover the foundation, which is the lunar phases explained. Like I said, the lunar cycle is the microcosm to the macrocosm of life, and the foundation is the lunar cycle. So we are going to examine that in detail so you can not only commit it to memory, but understand how the lunar cycle really works, okay? Then we're going to talk about your moon sign versus your moon phase. And this is going to be super important because this differentiates your identity and your personality from your purpose, which is super important. Then we're going to start moving into more interesting things, which is about how to live by the moon and what that actually looks like in real life. And then finally, the cherry on top is going to be your major life story and how the moon plays into that. All right. So again, this whole week is going to be super dope. It's going to be really informative. And again, there's going to be a whole bunch of resources along the way to help you out. And speaking of resources, I couldn't kick things off without giving you something good and juicy, right? So if this is something that interests you, and it really should, I'm not even going to lie to you, it really should. Even if you're just curious, like, what is she talking about? Like, what living by the moon? I mean, most people are very much aware now of the new moon and the full moon, right? Because everyone who's into manifestation is all about setting intentions, and the full moon, we're usually all feeling crazy and we can't sleep. So everyone is really familiar with that. And I love the fact that society really plays this up now. I love the fact that everyone is really tapped into when these things are, but that really just scratches the surface. Okay. So there's two things that I want to, I guess, give you with this. Number one, you definitely need to be following me on Instagram, because one of the best ways to start understanding and living the lunar life, right, which is what I like to call it, is understanding where the moon is throughout the month. And so over on Instagram is where you can, if you follow me, you'll know when the moon changes signs, what it means, and what you can do. So that's definitely something that you should start tracking. And so follow me over on Instagram at Divine Feminine Works. And so I will provide that information to you on a regular basis. That's number one. Number two, to take it a step further, tracking the moon and your mood is also how you start living this lunar life. So it's not just enough to understand where the moon is today, but how does it affect you? And what can you do in order to tap into that energy and take advantage of it? All right. So I have a free resource called the Mini Moon Map. Okay. And so this is a Notion template. I'll get into that in a second. It's a Notion template where you can understand the lunar cycle and track that lunar cycle on a daily basis. Like, it's super dope. And it's really, I like to call it a living lunar workbook. Okay. So many of you may not be familiar with Notion, or if you are, you've heard of it, but you don't know how to use it. And this is sort of why I use Notion. So a lot of my digital products include Notion templates, which are like workbooks. And typically, at least now, I feel like a lot of people, when they've got ebooks and stuff like that, they're all PDFs, which is cool. I also do PDF documents in my digital products as well. But here's the thing that I find about PDF documents. You'll download it once and then you'll forget it. Maybe you don't realize where it is on your computer, or it's just cumbersome, right? You can't download it on your phone. So to use it and to reuse it and reread it, you've always got to be in front of your computer, finding where it is. A lot of times, PDFs will have journal prompts and stuff, but actually being able to like type it and customize it can be really cumbersome, right? This is where Notion comes in. So Notion is a platform that allows you to organize information. A lot of people use it as workbooks, diaries, journals, trackers, notebooks, note-taking, spreadsheets, productivity sort of bundles, right? It's definitely a place where you can just take information, organize it, and revisit it. And the best part about it is that you don't just need to use it on your computer. You could use it on a tablet, you could use it on your phone. That's the main reason that I love it. It's because I could have it on my phone, and let's say I'm tracking my moon and my mood every month. I can literally just whip out my phone, open it up, and put in what needs to be put in, right? So that's why I call it a living lunar workbook. It's not just a PDF that you forget about. It's something that you could revisit every day. Okay. And so this is where a lot of my digital products live. So this mini moon map is one of those things where I give you information on the lunar cycle, plus I give you the space to track your own lunar cycle and what you could do during those times. So it's super dope. If you're interested, it's a free download. Link is in the description box below. Plus, you'll get a tutorial video on how to use Notion so you get comfortable with it and so that you understand how to integrate it into your daily routine, right? Because everything about what I do is meant to be used in real life, not just as a reference that is on your computer and then you forget about it. This is something that lives with you, that moves with you, that you can use as a daily journal or tracker so that you understand what's going on. And this is your segue into lunar living. And the best part is it's completely free. All right. And so the link is in the description box below. Definitely tap into that so we can start our lunar living journeys and start really changing our lives, getting the shit that we want, and really make sense of where we're at. All right. That's the purpose of my resources. It's the purpose of Moon Mastery Week. And it's one of the purposes of Divine Feminine Works generally. All right. So that's all I got for y'all today. Just wanted to drop in, let you know about this week's activities, and subscribe, set notifications, because I will be dropping a video every day this week for Moon Mastery Week. All right, my loves. So that's it. So hopefully, if you got any questions, comments, whatever, leave them in the comment section below. And I will see you this week. All right, my loves. Happy Moon Mastery Week. Take care.